7 years, hundreds of attempts, thousands of hours, one record, one unbeatable record, until now. Zero RNG, just the road, the dirt, the grass and the Pessima. This is the history of the Ibishu Pessima introduction scenario and how it was pushed to the absolute limit. Challenge is a word that perfectly describes this one, but why? It all comes down to the map and the car. Who could have guessed? The car is something your grandma would drive, don't get me wrong, it is definitely not the worst one in the game. But it has a lot of problems, like doors, seats, and also the steering wheel. Worst thing of them all. But truth be told, only 3 really matter: tires, length and brakes. The map is pretty rally oriented, and despite that, the car features no rally wheels, nor a slim short frame. Brakes are very hard to judge, and in a map with high turn density and uneven terrain, yeah, that's important. On the other side, the trail is pretty solid. Some turns, rough turns, very rough turns, different terrain types and one jump. But the main problem is not the trail itself, it's the map where it's located. East Coast USA is one of the more problematic and old regions in the entire game, featuring a lot of steel bushes and overall in need of a remake. Let's take a closer look. I want to explain each corner. I will be talking about the newest version, since updates over the years have changed how it looks. The start features 4 turns in total. These are all about pixel precision in the brake times and turning lines. Next up is a tricky one, and it's all due to East Coast being outdated. Those trees on the side are incredibly hard to judge, while the corner exit can also be very weird. That is, if not taken right. What follows is a pretty easy one, but if this turn is taken aggressively, this family coffin can be flipped. The turn to the dirt path is also troublesome, and this is where East Coast strikes again. This rock, it's green and it's weird. The next one is pretty consistent. This little bump can help rotate the car. Apex is up next, and its only problem is visibility. But I guess it's all about map knowledge, right? From dirt to road. On a map with a car that has bad acceleration, keeping momentum is a key, but this turn can consume almost all speed. After this, it's almost a straight shot to the finish. That is, if the car survived all previous problems. Over the 7-year history of this map, a lot of runners have tried their best to beat and hold the record. So let's look at the world records and see who, how and when destroyed each and every one of them. But I will focus more on runs that implemented something new. Back in 2018, Cosmos 300 was the first to beat this map. It was completely different back then, which made it a bit longer at the start. And even though the driving was not perfect, the first record was placed. 1 minute and 45 seconds. Only in about 3 months it was beaten by Digital Squirrel with an almost 2-second save and just a bit cleaner driving overall. Funny enough, in another 3 full months it was beaten again, this time by King Snake. Once again just clean driving. And here is one of the rough turns shown perfectly. A tad bit more speed and the player would have had to restart. Still, he managed to continue the run and saved almost 4 seconds. Overlord beat him in again almost 3 months, but not by a second or 2. 10 whole seconds were shaved off. But how? Cleaner turns and much better speed conservation were the answer. Runner managed to reduce wasted time on several rather important and hard parts of the map, like on this bump turn, and pushed through with rather ideal speed. Yet only 4 days later King Snake managed to reclaim his record by saving 0.2 seconds. And the record stood at 1 minute 24 seconds for almost 10 whole months. Nobody could beat King Snake, until finally it was done by Mo. Turns out, in one of the patches, the scenario was completely overhauled, and a huge time save was possible at the start, since the start itself was basically much shorter. Also, he managed to drift several tough corners and saved quite a bit of speed on the hard turn near the end. and that's why the runner managed to drop the time by a whole 5 seconds. But he was not the only one who spotted how much the scenario had changed. Serzari, an old god of BeamNG speedrunning, saw the potential for a great skill-based challenge and took it. In about 7 days he managed to beat Mol's record by 6 seconds. But how do you beat precision? Well, by being more precise, and that he did. Cutting corners like a champ. As good as it wasn't perfect, with bumps, mistakes and a lot of speed loss. And clearly, King Snake wasn't done just yet. In just 15 days he beat the previous record by 0.36 seconds. It might not look like much, but it happened due to a very clever use of a bump on one of the turns, which helped to redirect the car. This was 1 minute 17.965 seconds, and it was already very fast time. But did you think Serzari wouldn't strike back? Only 24 hours later he managed to beat the time, and not by a little amount. He completely destroyed King Snake's run by 2.197 seconds. How did he do it? Each turn setup was really close to being perfect, and the drift in the end was just beautiful. That being said, there was still time to save, and King Snake knew it. In just 7 days he managed to beat the time once again, by 0.036 seconds. I can't really say much about this one, except maybe the very last turn, where the runner used part of the pipe to get a pretty good setup and managed to save 4 speed. That's 4 miles per hour, and it was huge. And even though he did clear that corner 1 second later, this speed gave him enough of a boost to win. And then silence for 5 months. Until Serzari came back at July of 2020 and destroyed previous world record time once and for all. With a time save of 1.374 seconds, he managed to pull off probably one of the most precise runs possible on this map. No useless movement on turns, maximum efficiency. He even implemented the pipe on his last turn and managed to keep even more speed, with a final time of 1 minute 14.358 seconds. No one dared to even try to beat him. Until now. Almost 5 years of waiting changed a lot. For instance, new runners joined. One of them, AirWreckGaming. Previously a pro sim racer. He is really good at traditional driving gameplay, and I asked him to try and conquer this one. His first runs were not perfect. A 12-second difference was huge but manageable, and in just 5 runs he managed to cut the difference down to 2 seconds. But that was all meaningless, because while watching I noticed something interesting. In the last 5 months several patches were implemented into the game, and in one of them an important starting checkpoint was raised. Now I know what you are thinking. Yes, you can skip the start, but it can't be that bad, right? No, it was that bad. This skip removed 4 rather slow turns at the start and instead provided a pretty easy and straightforward line to first turn after the start, not only providing more speed but also excluding possible mistakes on those first 4 turns. And well, yeah, the speedrunner managed to beat the record by 2 whole seconds in the next 30 minutes, with final time of 1 minute 12.548 seconds. And with that, the 5-year record was not only beaten, but completely destroyed. But wait, just several days ago Serzari came back. After a long break, he wanted to try out the new rocket meta and already managed to destroy several records. And he couldn't just let this one slide. He wanted his record back. He was ready to claim it. By using the newly found shortcut with very clean driving, he managed to get 1 minute 10.7 seconds. By his estimates, this shortcut saves about 4.5 seconds. And yeah, it wasn't even his real run, it was just test run. Now, the only question is, can this time be lowered to sub 10 seconds? Who knows? But that would be history indeed. History that anyone's for taking. History that can be yours. Thank you for watching. Special thanks to Vulp, AirWreckGaming and Serzari for helping with this one. Don't forget to subscribe If you want more videos from me, hit that like button, and I'll see you all in a week.